It's Over Opinionated. Opinionated with Josh Cott.
Welcome back to Over Opinionated, everyone. I think we took a small little break last week, but this podcast normally does free episodes a month right now. Hopefully we boost that up to 4, but right now we're just doing free a month, taking 1 week off a month. But last time I was here, I was talking to you about Deadpool and Wolverine. Had a great time. But now we're going to get back into some politics. It is the day after Labor Day, and if you listen to this show much, I tell you constantly that is when things get serious at the presidential election. Not just that, the Senate and the House of Representatives. I think people are forgetting that all the House of Representatives is up for re-election, and a lot of the Senate is as well, and that's extraordinarily important as well. But obviously, most people just think about the presidential election and the presidential election year, and that's easy to do. But there's Congress is extraordinarily important, because if you have opposite parties in Congress and the White House, then there's gridlock there, and there has to be compromise. So if Kamala wins this election, and there's a Republican Senate in the House, and if we have a Republican majority in the House and Senate, then she's going to have to make some compromises, and she's not going to be able to do whatever she wants. She still is the most powerful. She'd still be the most powerful person in the world, especially with the United States military at her whim. But that's just the way things go in our system of checks and balances. With our 3 branches of government, the executive, judicial, and legislative branch. The legislative branch is bicameral, having 2 chambers in Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate. I remember, I am getting a little derailed, but this won't. Let's go down this rabbit trail just a little bit. I remember having a conversation with somebody and said, I remember them trying to teach me all that in school, but I don't use it one bit. Why do I need to know about the 3 branches of government? And why do I need to know all this civics? And I was like, man, yeah, you should know how our government works to be a good citizen. And guess what? You talk about politics all the time, and you're here sitting here telling me you don't need to know how about the 3 branches of government. Yeah, you do. You do need to know about the 3 branches of government. I don't know. Some people just make you bang your head against the wall. And listen, I'm not saying that civics and government's the most important thing in school, but you should know it. You should know a little bit at least to be a contributing member of society when you go to vote, because that's important. In America, we have this amazing power that some people don't have. We get to vote. Our guy might not win, but we get to vote. And in essence, we are like many members of Congress going when they go to vote for issues. Except we don't vote for the issues, we vote for the politicians that vote for the issues. So we make an impact on this country. Before we get super into politics, I was scrolling on Facebook this morning because I thought today was my first day of day shift. I'm getting transferred to day shift. Show up 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll punch my clock, and it rejects my time just for me to find out that I start day shift next week. And I have to go back and be at work at 3 o'clock. not really happy about that, but I'm gonna try to keep my sleep schedule good. So I'm gonna do this podcast and just sit down and relax a little bit before I go into work. But I saw a horrible story on Channel 7, WDBJ7, which was my local news channel growing up. They're out in Roanoke, and they covered the New River Valley and some of Southwest Virginia. Now that I moved, most people don't use this outlet, but I'm going to play you a little clip, all rights reserved to them, about a tragedy. There were 4 high school teenagers that were in a horrible car accident. I believe they're all teammates, and this is after they went to their high school's opening football game, and they went and watched their schoolmates. They all played baseball, and they went and watched their high school play football. It was opening week, so I'm going to play you the clip, and alright, this is a clip from Channel 7, all rights reserved to them. I don't think that they'll do anything about me playing this small clip on my podcast to maybe raise awareness for these boys. I hope they don't. I don't think they would, because I'm not trying to steal anything or take credit for anything. But all rights reserved to Channel 7 in Roanoke, a CBS affiliate. So here we go.
County teenagers, and tonight we've learned all 4 were in one vehicle and no other vehicles were involved. WDBJ7's Annabelle Kinney is here in studio. Annabelle, I understand you were able to talk with the mom of one of the teens. What is she saying about the crash, and most importantly, how are those teenagers doing?
Jean, while all 4 were taken to the hospital, they're all expected to recover. The boys were in a car heading down Rubish Road when they hit a tree. It was scary, not just for the teens, but for their parents.
Just not knowing if he was going to be okay.
A boy who's being called a miracle. 15-year-old Aiden Hunter and his 3 friends were on the way home from watching the Pulaski County Cougars football game Friday night. The 4 teens are teammates on the New River Valley Tigers baseball team. Around 11 p.m., Aiden's mom, Yana Hunter, got a call that turned her world upside down. She found out her son and his friends were involved in a terrible car crash and ran into a tree on Rubish Road in Dublin.
I feel like if it wasn't for God, he wouldn't be here. And all of our friends and family praying, because I really think God was with him.
Aiden was flown to Roanoke Memorial Hospital that night in critical condition. Yana says her son's injuries were so bad, she was terrified.
His spine was broke completely in half, and that he was going to have emergency surgery. Well, then before they could do that, he started having problems with his stomach, so they had to immediately go to surgery to do exploratory surgery, and they found numerous injuries inside of his stomach.
But in the past few days, Aiden has defied all odds and is on the road to recovery. Monday morning was the first time Aiden's mom got to talk to him.
He couldn't talk because he still had the tube this morning, and his first words that he wrote down on the paper was that he loved me.
While Aiden still has a long way to go, his mom hopes one day he may be able to step on the baseball field again. There is a GoFundMe set up for the boys and their families that anyone can donate to. Aiden's mom says she's very thankful for support from the community and the baseball team. Jean, the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office says that it is still under investigation, and their thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved.
Yeah. Thank you, Channel 7, for covering that so well. A horrible, horrible incident. And I'm going to share the GoFundMe on the Over Opinionated site and my personal site. And if you have a little bit of extra money, to give, I really encourage you to go give to these young kids. There are 4 of them, and the GoFundMe is the GoFundMe is support local kids after tragic incident, and it says hashtag Tiger Strong. It has a picture of a tiger because they're on a local baseball team. It's actually not their high school team, but I guess they're on a travel baseball team called the NRV Tigers. So let's keep those guys in your prayers. It really, I hate seeing that horrific event, and you hate seeing that at any time, no matter the age. But when they're teenagers, I'm thankful that God protected them. No one passed away. But when these things happen, there's 4 of them. Healthcare is extraordinarily expensive. It's way too expensive. So please, if you're going to give to me, instead of giving to me this podcast this month or this week, or if you're going to, have a charitable heart, give them. Doesn't have to be a lot. $5, $10 goes a long way. Okay, and keep them in your prayers. That's what means the most, really. But we're getting back to politics. It's been crazy since I've spoke to y'all guys. Kamala Harris accepted her nomination after the Democratic Party pushed Joe Biden down the mountain to his political death. The polls have been kind of going toward Kamala's favor, but slowly. And where did that heat? Nate Silver went on Pierce Morgan's podcast here recently, and I'm going to play you a clip from that. Nate Silver was the founder of 538. He left 538. And what 538 does, and what it used to do, they still claim they do it, but is they took all the polls that they found replicable, and they averaged them. They took polls from the right, they took polls from the left, they took polls from the middle, and they basically just averaged them out, because there are right-leaning pollsters and there are left-leaning pollsters and there are people in the middle. And then, if you looked at the theory is, if you looked at the average, that's probably your good go-to. That's actually what there's a few polling places that I look at, and that is 538, Real Clear Politics, and I also like looking at Nate Silver's analysis on things. And now listen, I want to say never trust the polls. It doesn't matter, because polls can be wrong. Now, even if they're not biased and they're really trying, polls can be wrong. Polls do not cast ballots. And this election's a pure toss-up. Whoever runs the best campaign from now until November is going to win this election. We have a debate that's supposed to be coming up on the 10th that Kamala Harris has tried her best to change the rules. She's tried her best to change the rules from when Joe Biden and Donald Trump set the debate. She wanted to get it where the microphone wouldn't be turned off when you weren't speaking. Why does she want that? I think it's obvious. She realizes that a muted microphone actually helps Donald Trump. And I know Joe Biden's team wanted a muted microphone so Trump wouldn't talk over him the whole time, like he did in 2020. But Kamala Harris wants Trump to be aggressive and go after her so she could say what she said to Mike Pence, basically, and she can say, excuse me, I'm speaking, or something like that. And Mike Pence wasn't really trying to interrupt her. It's just how it went. Maybe he interrupted her, but it was not in a rude political manner. It's just a manner of speech. We all have instances where we might interrupt, and we're not trying to. I've done it before. I try my best not to do it. I really hate it, but I'll, sometimes I'll say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please go ahead. But, Donald Trump interrupts all the time. He doesn't care. It's very rude. but he does it all the time. So she wants to get the microphone doesn't want the microphone muted when they're not speaking, so he can be aggressive and look bad. And I'll be honest, I think Kamala's really, I think she's kind of afraid. She's only done one interview with a friendly outlet, CNN, and she did it with Tim Walz, and it was only 18 minutes. Guys, this podcast is at 14 minutes right now. I mean, 18 minutes of an interview, and it wasn't live, it was edited. And she had Tim Walz with her. Listen, you can hate Donald Trump. That man will go and speak about anywhere. He went to the African journalist that was very hostile to him. He walked into enemy territory, and he's like, let's go. I don't remember the name of the association, but it was a bunch of African American journalists. And most of them had a left-leaning bent. And he's like, let's go. When's Kamala Harris going to go to Fox News? When are we going to see her on Fox News? Because we see Trump in unfavorable places. Now, he might not do... Well, he has done sit-down interviews before. It's been a little while since I've seen that. And listen, Donald Trump has been fairly disciplined, especially compared to 2016, compared to 2020. Now, I'm not saying he's running the perfect campaign. He's not. But he's been very disciplined compared to his past. So why is the polls not in our right direction? Well, people remember all the crazy crap he said before. But when it actually comes down to policy, Trump blows Kamala out of the water. So we talk about stuff like her being a woman, her being African American and Indian, Donald Trump's comments that have seemed hateful over race, over gender. And listen, he's no saint. He said some things that he should have never said. And that's just how... But was America in a better situation when Donald Trump was president? Obviously it was. Now, the pandemic skewed a lot of numbers. The economy was great from 2017 to 2020. The economy was really great. Now, is that all because Donald Trump? No, because the president doesn't directly control the economy, but he does set a tone. He does set a tone about the economy. And I've said that for years, and some people get it, some people do not. And that's just the case. Now, are there things that are out of a president's control? Yes, but there's policies that can help or hurt the economy. And Americans overall trust Trump more than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris on the economy. And they trust Trump more on the border than Joe Biden on the economy. So those are the issues we're running on, and those are the issues we're winning on. Kamala Harris is beating abortion like a drum, because she thinks that's her best pathway to victory is abortion, and not being Trump. Abortion, not being Trump. She's also, I think Kamala Harris has been very Marxist, very communist, wanting price controls on groceries. And that, if you think things are hard now, and they are hard now, America's over $1 trillion of credit card debt because partially because things are so hard. Dave Ramsey would say because we're not living within our means. Well, two things can be true at once. Things are very hard, and a lot of Americans don't live within their means. And sometimes it's hard to live within your means. But if we have the economy in better shape, not that we shouldn't worry about being wise financially, we should, but things are easier, obviously. If groceries aren't so expensive, things are easier. And we need things to be easier, not harder. So I'm going to play you a clip from Nate Silver on Piers Morgan's podcast, Uncensored.
Man, it's been a while.
I don't even know. Have we ever met in person? I've visited you many times.
CNN back in the day,
Yeah.
10, 12 years ago. Yeah, I remember that stuff.
Yeah. I remember interviewing a lot. But you were normally so busy you couldn't come in. You've written this great book, The Art of Risking Everything on the Edge. And I'll come to that in a moment. But first of all, you're the founder of 5830, one of the great polling companies in the world, particularly for American politics. Where are we now with this election, do you think?
If you had the election today, then Harris would have a slight edge. But A, the election's not today, and B, we have to remember the Electoral College. She is up right now by 3.5 points or so in national polls. There's been about a 2.5 point gap, though, 3-point gap between the popular vote and the Electoral College. So she'd probably have to win by 3.5 to be safe in the Electoral College. Secondly, she may be on a little bit of a sugar high after the convention, after the VP picks, everything else. So our model has the November outcome basically 50-50, despite the fact that she's ahead by a small amount today.
Is it always around 50-50 now in America? In other words, is it going to come down, as always, to 40, 50, 60,000 votes?
We are so polarized, we're not going to have elections like you have in the UK, where you have big swings between Labour and Tories. If 90% of people are locked in already. I mean, we saw when Biden was 82 years old, trying to run for president until he was 86, and plainly unable to execute, he still was only 4 points behind Trump.
Right.
Look, if you had a Nikki Haley, it might be a wider margin still. But the party label is all that matters for the large majority of American voters.
Trump, it's believed at the moment, has the edge with men, American men.
Yeah.
Is that enough to get him over the edge? He also had rising support with Latinos and Black Americans. Kamala Harris, as a Black woman nominee, has pegged back a little bit of that, it seems. What's the reality there?
I mean, the electorate is 51% women, 49% men. Women are more reliable about most things, including voting. It was funny that in her convention speech, not funny, but interesting, it was targeted at male voters, right? She had a line about AI, which is a very male-coded thing. She talked about military strength and competition with China, which I thought was smart. I mean, a lot of Democrats try to play to their base, but their base is actually not as large as it used to be. You see, for example, younger voters of color are now maybe more agnostic or neutral about who they might want to vote for. Hispanic voters have gone back to being more 50-50. And so, I think she was smart to go after men who are obviously a GOP-leaning group in this dynamic.
Let's take a quick break.
Has anybody ever told you you were over opinionated? How about this one? You can talk about everything you like, but don't talk about religion, don't talk about faith, don't talk about politics. My name is Darrell McClain, host of Darrell McClain's Show, and I want to introduce you to a show called Over Opinionated with my friend from Southwest Virginia, Josh Scott. Josh has always been told he has been over-opinionated. He always tried to hold back these opinions, but he tried to back them up when he had to say something with facts and logic. Since he's grown up in many ways, he had to change a lot of his views and his opinions, as a lot of people should. He's not a millionaire from Fox News or CNN. He's just a hard-working, blue-collar type of guy. Give Josh Scott a shot at Over Opinionated with Josh Scott. You can find him on patreon.com/overopinionated at 679. You can also check him out on Twitter at NRV_guy79. Over Opinionated with Josh Scott, where he is this soft-spoken guy telling you the truth.
Kamala Harris was pretty unpopular before all this last 2 months of extraordinary developments. Has she got genuinely more popular, or is it that the Democrats have seized a bit of momentum from it not being the old guy?
Enthusiasm can go a long way and kind of fake it till you make it, but she's also gotten a lot of reps in, spending 4 years touring the world. I mean, remember, all the natural politicians. Bill Clinton, natural politician. Well, not really. His first DNC speech in 1988 was a laugher, a disaster. Barack Obama got decimated in his first his first congressional election in 2000 on the south side of Chicago. So you can get better. I feel like the Biden people also were holding her back. I mean, they were very aware that if you have this talented understudy when you're 82 years old and she were allowed to kind of be herself, I mean, the obvious thing would be to hand over the baton without all this drama that actually unfolded. And so, free of the Biden burden, free of, I think also in 2020 when she ran, this was kind of peak, if you will, like wokeness in American society, where there was very little about race and gender in that convention speech. She did not use the word black even once. She used the word woman only once, because she knows that Americans actually selling yourself as race blind. Of course, it's implicit in the presentation. It would be historic first, but I think she's been smarter about that.
I agree with that. Unlike Hillary Clinton, who
put it very
talked
much
endlessly about the glass ceiling and everything else.
Yeah, she had Chelsea Clinton introduce her.
All right, that's enough of that. But I agree with Nate Silver's analysis. It does look like everything I see, it looks like Kamala has about a 3 to 3.5 lead in the national polls. A lot of Republicans that don't understand how the system works get kind of afraid when they see that. And I don't like that. I want to win the national polls. But the Electoral College, which does favor Republicans, and it's partially why Democrats want to get rid of it so bad, you can win, and a lot of people don't understand this, you can win the election without winning the popular vote, without most people voting for you. Why is that? Because the Founding Fathers set up a compromise system, just like in our Congress. In our Congress, the Senate has, no matter if you're the biggest state in the country or you're the smallest state in the country, you have the same amount of representatives. Everyone has two. Now, a lot of people that are pure democracy, it's all about democracy, all about the numbers. Well, America's not a pure democracy. We're a democratic republic. We have aspects of democracy. Yeah, well, we're still a democracy. But we are also a constitutional republic. We have a constitutional republic. And what this was designed to do is so big states with a larger population couldn't just run over the small states. And some people pointed out, hey, well, that's not fair to the big states with the bigger population. It's not fair to them. And they're right. It's not completely fair. If we didn't have a House of Representatives, it would be extremely unfair. And I wouldn't agree with that. But we have the House of Representatives that represents the population in each state. Every representative is supposed to have about the same amount of populations. And that's a good thing. And then how we do the Electoral College is whatever your number of representatives and your number in the Senate, you add them together, and that's your number of electors in the Electoral College that send their vote for the presidency. Now, actually, how a state sends their electors, it's totally up to the state. Now, most states, 48 out of 50 states have a winner-take-all system, which means if you win the state of California, you will get all of California's electoral votes. I think they have 54. So if you win California, and the Democrats normally do, that's a big Democratic stronghold, it has been for years, then a Democrat would win all 54 electoral votes. That's huge. That doesn't mean every district in that state voted Democrat, though. So what the legislators do, what the legislature and governor in California do is they say, well, that means we have 54 electoral votes. We're going to make it where whoever wins the state gets all of them. And they pretty much know that the Democrats are going to win that state, so they say it's winner take all. Even though they might have 10 districts that vote Republican. And every state does this except 2. The only 2 that don't do this is Maine and Nebraska. Maine and Nebraska break up their electoral votes by congressional district. If you get more votes in your congressional district, then and the state still goes for the other candidate, your elector would still go to the candidate that congressional district voted for. I actually think that's the way. Now, I like the Electoral College, but it does need to be reformed, because I think it's ridiculous that in California, all 54 of their electors go to one candidate. And I think it's ridiculous in Texas that all, I can't remember how many electors they had. I think they have 40 now. It used to be 38. But all of Texas electors goes to one candidate, even though you might have 10 or 15 districts that voted for the opposite party. But we'd need a constitutional amendment to fix that. Now, actually, in the early days of the Republic, we didn't have a popular vote in the states. What happened was the legislature voted on what electors to send to the Electoral College to cast their vote. So if you were a member of a particular party and the legislator, you would vote for that party. So the only say people had was voting for their state electors. So their state legislators. That's the only say you had. I like the Electoral College. I don't like a pure popular vote for several reasons. Number one is election integrity. I do not trust California's election integrity. California lets illegal immigrants vote in their statewide elections. And you might say, well, that's statewide. That's not federal. Oh, yeah, that's true by law. And I hope there's not illegals voting in California at a federal level. But I don't trust it. So stuff like that that could sway the national popular vote. And I'm sorry, just because you won, let's say you go to the 2000 election, I don't think that whatever the 2000 election was, like 500,000 votes, 1 million votes, maybe I could be totally wrong. I don't think you should be president of the United States because you get 500,000 more votes. That's extraordinarily close. And I don't think small states like Wyoming and West Virginia and Hawaii should get run over by the bigger states. Now, liberals will always say land doesn't vote, people do. And I understand land doesn't vote. I go out and vote. But they forget localities do vote. People are different in different localities. Josh Scott, who lives in Southwest Virginia, I am different than someone who lives in San Francisco, California. But there's a lot more people who live in San Francisco, California that live in Southwest Virginia. Now, I don't believe that the minority should rule over the majority. This is a compromise system. The Electoral College is a compromise system. Really, if the smaller states had their way, it'd be one state, one vote. And if it was a one state, one vote situation, the Republicans would win every election. Now, I don't think that's fair. But if it was a national popular vote, The Democrats wouldn't win every election, but they'd come close to it. Why? Well, there's a lot of people in California, and there's a lot of people in New York City, but there's not a lot of people in North Dakota and Montana. So should their state, should their localities be governed solely based on San Francisco and New York? No. That doesn't mean we don't need reform in the Electoral College. We do. I think it's ridiculous that if a Republican wins Texas, that all of Texas's electors vote for the Republican. But every state would have to put down their arms and say, for what's better of the country, we'll go to the Nebraska-Maine system. They're not willing to do that. I mean, hopefully one day we'll get an amendment that will change the Electoral College for the congressional model. And listen, even in the congressional model with Maine and Nebraska, if you win the state overall, but you lose your congressional district, whoever wins the state overall gets two electors for the two senators, and for your one congressman in your district, So if I was a Democrat in Southwest Virginia in the 9th congressional district of Virginia, and I voted Democrat, yeah, my vote might in the congressional district might not go to my candidate, but overall in Virginia, there's a good chance that my vote, my elector vote would count still, because Virginia could vote Democrat at a state level, and every vote counts. Even if you're in a red district, your vote counts as much as if you're in a blue district. So if you're in a blue state and a red district and you're a blue voter, your vote still counts. I know that can be complicated, but I want to play you two more clips. The first one will be about Kamala Harris from her interview with CNN about the border.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. As Vice President, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. Mm-hmm. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and the pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to ask
about... Not only push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019, when you first ran, there was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident?
Before I comment on anything else, why is Dana Bash giving her multiple choice questions? Is it because you've learned more when you're president, or you were running in a liberal primary, or, AB, or just ask the question? Why are you giving her multiple choice answers? Is it because she is so bad you have to give her multiple choice questions to give her an option to pick from? That's pathetic.
That what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward.
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal.
All right, we're going to end it there because they switched subjects. Yeah, let's talk about the border bill. Do I have it all set up? No. Well, Trump killed this great, beautiful border bill that would have fixed everything just to help his election efforts. Even if that's true, I don't think it is. Even if that's true, you are the vice president of the United States. The borders are. Joe Biden made you the borders are. This is the Biden-Harris administration. You are running basically as an incumbent for another term. You're endorsed by this president. Why are you not shutting down the border? Why are you not finishing the wall? Now, it comes out that she's supporting some more border wall now, and after saying that it was racist and incompetent and wouldn't help. And this is the same woman that has said, illegal immigrants are not criminals. By definition, an illegal immigrant is a criminal because they broke the law and they are hurting this country. Now, does that mean all illegal immigrants are evil, horrible people? I don't think that. I think most of them are good people looking for a better opportunity. But they came in the wrong way. They didn't come in the right way. And I'm sorry. I've heard some people that they're super open border. I'll let anybody in or anything. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus... they'll bring up Jesus when it comes to the border. But when it comes to abortion, that you just cut that baby into a million pieces, and if someone says this is morally wrong, scream separation of church and state. But when it comes to the border, we gotta bring up Jesus. And Jesus was a refugee. He was. And when he was safely able to go back to his home country, he did. He went back. When he could, and when he was a refugee, he was a baby. I don't even get mad at illegal immigrants that were brought over here as a baby, or a very small child. I don't fault a baby for their parents coming to America illegally. I don't. And I'm not, and I understand. I understand when you live in a country that is not as good as America, it's really poor, not many opportunities, wanting to come to the best country in the history of the world. But we have a right to secure our borders. We have a right to know who's coming in the country. You might not like that. You might say, well, that's not what Jesus would do. Jesus said obey the law. At least in the Old Testament. And actually in the New Testament, Paul writes about honoring the king and obeying the authorities. And there's nothing unbiblical about enforcing immigration. Because this is it. It's not that we hate everyone trying to come in. It's that we love everyone that's inside. And all a wall is, it's like locking your doors at night. It's not because you hate people on the outside. It's because you love the people on the inside. And yeah, and listen, I know a company in my home county that used to hire illegal immigrants a lot, notorious for it. I talked to someone that works for that company, remembers them being hired there. They had to fire a lot of them because, guess what? The government started cracking down. It was like, well, let me see their paperwork. Let me see everyone's paperwork. Oh, Juan from Venezuela doesn't look too legit here. You're paying someone under the table. Who's that hurt? That hurts Americans. When companies can pay someone from Venezuela or someone from Mexico cheaper than Americans when you're looking for a job, that's what it does. It hurts Americans. But why did Trump? Because he thought it was a weak bill. Trump has said multiple times he wants to deport all illegal immigrants. That's never going to happen. I think there's like there's over 15 million illegal immigrants in America. It's never going to happen. But do we need mass deportations? Yeah. Especially if you've come here and you've broken a crime, with the exception of hopping the border, which is still a serious crime, you need to go. If you don't care about the laws of this land, you need to go. If you've stolen, if you've, if you're drug dealing or something, you need to get out of America. And for all the people here that broke the law and they're coming to the country, I don't want to be heartless. If you're trying to be decent, trying to make something of yourself, I do think that there needs to be a pathway to naturalization, not citizenship. I don't think you award illegal aliens, and you might get mad at that term, all it means is you're not from America, you're not from the United States, or illegal immigrants. I'm not going to award them with citizenship and the right to vote in this country when they came here the wrong way. Now, you can be a U.S. national. All that means is you're allowed here legally and you're allowed to vote. You're allowed to be a member of the community. I mean, you're allowed to work, not vote. But you're never going to be allowed to vote. You're allowed to pay taxes. You're allowed to... And listen, I'm okay if you're receiving maybe some benefits as a national, as long as you put into it. If you're putting in more than you take out, sure. But the United States of America has to be a country for Americans. That's racist. You just don't like brown people. Listen, I'd say the same thing if we were having problems with Canada. And there's a ton of illegals from Canada that were white, that were hurting the country, that hurting this welfare system. I'd say, listen, you gotta come the right way. Now, should we do things to make it easier to come the right way? Yeah. Maybe we should make it less expensive. But the United States of America has no obligation to take in foreigners. None. Just like all other countries. None. Maybe you can say morally we should. And morally I think we should. I'm actually very pro-immigration. Just legal immigration. My pastor is actually an immigrant. and I understand the idea America's a land of immigrants, and it is, but we have laws about immigration now. I want to know who's coming into the country. And this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, has sucked. They have executive power to do things on the border that they are not doing, and they are blaming on Trump killing a bad border bill, or what he believes is a bad border bill. Why? Because he wants to put in something even stricter when he's president. It's like, why in the world why are people against the border wall? Because they want, honestly, a lot of them want illegal immigration. A lot of Democrats want illegal immigration. They might not say it, but they do. And why is that? Because they believe that eventually they'll vote Democrat. That's why they are so for illegal immigration. And just like they hate the term illegal immigration. Oh, they're undocumented immigrants. They just forgot their documents at home. I thought, well, they're undocumented. They forgot. Oopsie daisy. When you're moving to a country, you just forget your documentation. That's all it is. You can use whatever crappy term you want. They're here now, and I'll hear legal say, no person's illegal. Would you rather me call them criminal aliens then, or criminal immigrants then? I mean, they committed a crime, which was illegal, and they immigrated. That is illegal immigration. One of Trump's greatest lines is, why are you talking so bad about illegal immigration? And then Trump just responds, it's illegal! And listen, if it wasn't hurting our country, it wouldn't bother me as bad, but it is. It is. We need to know who's coming in. And we have a huge drug problem, have problem with fentanyl. It hurts jobs, it hurts the economy, and especially if they're typing into the welfare system and it's making it weak, because they're not paying into it. I'll be honest with you. Now, I'm not saying illegal immigrants shouldn't be able to receive health care in America. I think they should. But they shouldn't get any benefits. They're not putting into the system. I'm going to play a couple clips from President Trump flip-flopping like a fish on abortion. And I've heard Republicans, they say, don't criticize Trump on abortion right now. We got to win an election. This is not good. Don't criticize Trump on abortion. We need to win the election. Well, if I don't criticize him, I'd be a hypocrite because I criticize the left. And some things are bigger than the election, and the life and death of unborn babies is one of them. And just because I criticize our nominee does not mean I will not vote for our nominee. So, here we go. Here's a clip from just a couple days ago. Now, one clip shows Trump saying he wants more time for a woman to have an abortion than 6 weeks. President Trump's a resident of Florida, and they have a ballot initiative for a constitutional amendment in the Constitution of Florida, basically to make abortion a right and to make abortion up to the point of birth. One of the best governors in the United States of America, probably the best governor, Governor Ron DeSantis, signed in a heartbeat bill that you're no longer allowed to have surgical abortions after 6 weeks because of heartbeat. You can still order the abortion pill. There's probably some restrictions on that, but let's be real. That's how most abortions are being done by the abortion pill. But like after 11 or 12 weeks, the abortion pill doesn't work anymore because the baby is too far developed. So here's President Trump being asked how he's going to vote on the abortion bill. And I just played a clip.
You overturn,
everyone does.
You
I think
overturn
everyone
Roe,
does, yeah.
and you want abortion to be a states' rights issue. In Florida, the state that you are a resident of, there's an abortion-related amendment on the ballot to overturn the 6-week ban in Florida. How are you going to vote on that?
Well, I think the 6 week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
So you'll vote in favor of the amendment?
I'm voting that I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. Look, just so you understand, everybody wanted Roe v. Wade terminated.
All right, that's enough of that. The pro-life community rightfully ripped Trump a new one. I don't think Trump knew exactly what he was talking about, to be honest with you. The amendment wasn't to allow a few more weeks for abortion to happen. It wasn't like, you can vote for 15 weeks. You can have an abortion up to 15 weeks. No, the amendment allows abortion up to the point of birth. And Trump says he's going to vote for more weeks. It makes it sound like he's going to vote for it. Because Donald Trump does not really like the idea of restrictive abortion bans. I don't think he likes it personally, and I don't think he likes it politically. He's trying to win over the middle, but the Democrats are hitting him for being horrible on abortion from their point of view, that he wants to ban all abortion. Kamala Harris said at the DNC he'll try to ban abortion without using Congress. His clip from there doesn't add up. He said he wants it to be a states' rights issue. The states have the right to determine when it's okay to kill a baby or not. And listen, I like states' rights, but I think a baby in Alabama is worth just as much as a baby in California. And this goes beyond states' rights. This is a human right to live. You have a human right to live. Just like in the case of slavery. And the original Constitution did kind of protect slavery. I'm from the South. I've told y'all before, I'm more moderate in the Civil War. I'm like a moderate Confederate. But that's not because I support slavery. I don't. It's because I think states have the right to leave the Union. I still believe they have the right to leave the Union. Because I think that's how our nation was founded, was on secession. And I think slavery, even if the South left the Union and had their own country, slavery was going to die. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean I want states to leave the Union. I don't. I want America to be strong, and I want us to be one united nation. So I'm glad that we are one united nation. But anyway, that's beside the point. But really, all this is saying is, babies in Alabama matter more than babies in California, because they have stricter abortion laws. If your state doesn't want to have strict abortion laws, that's fine. You can kill a baby all the way to birth. In California, you can kill a baby all the way to birth in Virginia too, by the way. But just like the issue of slavery, so African Americans matter more in a free state than they do a slave state. When you go to civil rights, also black people have more rights in a northern state than a southern state. That's not right. That's not fair. No, some things go beyond states' rights. And human rights go beyond states' rights. I'm sorry. It's wrong for a state to deny someone their right to life because of one state or another. And the abortion and slavery is extremely similar. You're basically saying one group of people is worth less than another group of people because of their size, their development, or their skin color. That's basically what you're saying. You're saying we love all certain types of people. This circle, these are people. If you're outside of this circle, you might be a human being, but you're not our people, and we don't care about you. And South did it with slavery, and now liberal states are doing it with abortion. We're saying, well, you might be biologically a human being, but we don't care about you because you haven't been born. You haven't exited the magical birth canal that makes someone a human. Once you exit the magical birth canal, you're human. But if you're inside the womb, then you're not a human. So one second right before birth, not a human. Right after birth, human. The magical birth canal that makes someone human. And then, you hear these arguments, my body, my choice. Literally the same argument that slave owners in the South were saying, my plantation, my prerogative. Well, how about the human being that you're using for forced labor? Is he not made in the image of God? I don't care if it's your plantation. I care about the people you're hurting with your plantation. That's the same thing we're saying about abortion. I don't care about your body. If you want to get carpal tunnel surgery, if you want to have a hysterectomy after you have birth or before you have birth to not have kids anymore, go at it. If you want to amputate your own leg, it's pretty stupid, but I don't care. But what I do care about is you using your body to kill someone. And then trying to say it's your constitutional right. And maybe it is a constitutional right. The Supreme Court doesn't recognize it anymore as a constitutional right. But, listen, the original Constitution, although it's a good document, is not a perfect document, it did protect slavery. It doesn't make it right. And if one day the Constitution, we get an amendment that you have a right to an abortion, that doesn't make it right. Even if you have a constitutional amendment to oppress people, doesn't make it right. These are human beings made in God's image. Separation of church and state. Don't you dare put your cross on my ovaries, you bigot. Well, first of all, I don't think you really know what separation of church and state is. You keep saying that term. I'm not forcing you to go to church, and I don't want the United States of America to have an official church. What the hell does that have to do with killing a baby? And yeah, am I going to use my religion when I go to vote? Yes, I am. Because I try to use it in all things. Because I believe it's a light source unto the world, a map unto the world. I'm not going to just say, okay, God, you can tell me whatever to do in my whole entire life, but when it comes to this one thing, voting, there's this imaginary separation of church and state. You're not welcome here, Jesus. Now, when it comes to the border, yeah, we can bring Jesus out then, because what would Jesus do when it comes to the border? We can talk about that then. We can talk about Jesus when it comes to socialism. Jesus, well, he was just a hippie who was a socialist fighting the power man. Then you just missed the whole big. Well, I've read it several times. He never said use the state to enforce your crappy economic policies. He encouraged us to be charitable. Yeah, that's true. He never said use the gun of the state to force socialism, and that's what you want. Yeah, that's what you want. Oh, I don't like the idea of a gun. Okay, so if I don't pay my taxes for your socialist utopia that a lot of people on the left want, what are you going to do with me? Oh, I go to jail. That's the strength of the state. That's a gun pointing down at me saying, pay for Marxism. No, I don't. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to vote against that. Well, you're just a bigot, religious person that doesn't believe in separation of church and state. Well, you don't know what that term really means. You say it a lot, and you think you know what it means. I mean, you really do, but you don't really. It's like that word and The Princess Bride. Inconceivable. It's like, I don't think you really know what that means. I think you are just regurgitating talking points you've heard. Just garbage bullcrap. And if I was a Muslim, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't use the same argument. It's just, you don't really like the Jesus guy. And yes, get off your high horse. I know Muslims believe in Jesus, but not the same Jesus I do. So don't hit me with that crap. I know more than you think I do. Okay, I went on a rant. We're going to go to Donald Trump's second statement on abortion. After he got a ton of pro-life backlash. Okay, one day after saying his stupid statement, he said this statement.
From the early primaries, when I heard about it, I disagreed with it. At the same time, the Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation that where you can do an abortion in the 9th month. And, you know, some of the states like Minnesota and other states have it where you could actually execute the baby after birth. And all of that stuff is unacceptable. So I'll be voting no for that reason.
Okay, that's good. Good. This is why you have to criticize your nominee sometimes. This is why you got to put pressure on him to say, hey, listen, if you piss off a lot of your pro-life voters, it might not look so good. We don't have to vote for you. You know that, right? We can vote for whoever we want to. So if you make us mad enough, we'll go vote. We'll go write in Ron DeSantis' name or something. And I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but we have a right to criticize our own nominee, make him say better statements. Then the left, they make the claim, there's no killing babies after abortion. Okay, I wish Trump would have said that differently. I do, because then they attack us. It's true. It's against the law in the United States to kill a baby after it's born, even after a botched abortion. I understand that. But my former governor went on a radio interview where he literally said, the baby will be delivered. Then the baby will be kept comfortable. Then the mother will have a discussion with the doctor what to do. He's talking about killing He's talking about killing a born baby after a botched abortion. And I didn't mean it like that. Yeah, you did. So, yeah, I definitely believe there are some Democrats that would be okay with killing a baby after a botched abortion. 100%. 100% believe they would be. It's sad, but it's true. Now that doesn't mean that that's legal in America. It's not. But that doesn't mean some Democrats don't support that, because the former governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, did support that. Maybe he doesn't anymore, but he did at one time. But it doesn't matter. Okay, what if the woman is dilating? Delegate Kathy Tran of Virginia literally said a woman, she introduced a bill, and when being questioned about that bill, former Speaker of the House of Delegates, Kurt Cox, asked Kathy Tran, what if a woman's dilating? Meaning she's about to give birth. Would they be allowed to have an abortion? And Kathy Tran said there'd be no restriction. Oh, okay. So it goes from being human to not human. All right. And listen, I do want to say one thing. I've had some far lefties. They don't even consider themselves Democrat. And they probably aren't. Why? Because they're communist. Talk to me. And listen, I like these people. But one of them asked me on social media, and they said, well, if Trump is bad on abortion, why don't you vote for someone else? and they think I'm a single issue voter. They say that crap. Well, listen, if we get rid of the issue of abortion, Trump is better than Kamala Harris or anyone else on every single issue, and it's not even close. Okay, and a lot of these far leftists, they really think, man, if it wasn't for abortion, we'd win every election because they would want communism. Am I populist? Do I like some populist principles? Am I totally against unions? No, I'm not. Do I? Now, listen, some unions are good, some unions are bad. A lot of people make the mistake when judging a union that they judge them all together. That's like judging all companies the same. That's not true. All companies are not the same. All unions are not the same. My dad's a union man and has been almost his whole working life. And when my dad got a stroke and couldn't work anymore, and he can't work right now, the company won't let him for safety reasons. And he's recovering very well. He's actually driving some. Y'all keep my dad in your prayers. He's lost a lot of weight. He lost weight before the stroke, and then he's lost weight after the stroke. I'm very proud of him. And, so keep my daddy in your prayers, please. But his union and his co-workers have stepped up and helped my dad, and it's really made me emotional to see my dad's co-workers take a bucket around the plant and say, hey, Scotty's having a hard time. Can we give him a little bit of money? And I was like, well, I don't have a lot, but I like Scotty, so here's 20, here's 50, here's a $5 bill. And for them to do that, I know that's not the union, that's just as co-workers at the plant. For them to do that means a lot to me, because I've seen my dad struggle to talk. I've seen my dad struggle to walk. And especially after losing my mom almost 2 years ago, seeing my dad go through this, and my daddy's co-workers have really stepped up and helped him. And my daddy's union in Dublin, they're affiliated with the UAW, and I know that the international up in Michigan has a lot of corruption. I understand that. But I have so much respect for the UAW 2069 in Dublin. They're paying for my dad's health insurance right now. And I've met a lot of their workers, and they're great people. And guess what? If there was an election, Trump would win it in a landslide. And in 2020, a lot of union members went to the union hall and took pictures with Trump t-shirts and flags and hats. And the International didn't like that too much, actually. They gave Dublin a little bit of a phone call, but they couldn't do anything. I mean, they have the right to free speech, and I guess maybe they could say get off of... Well, I understand. They could say get off of our union hall, but they're union members. I guess you could kick them out, but that wouldn't look too good. I think the UAW's international is really crooked, but UAW 269 in Dublin, Virginia, thank you so much for helping my dad out. Thank you so much. And all the Volvo workers, thank you. And I don't have anything against the Volvo company. They haven't done anything bad to my dad. So actually, yeah, I don't hate unions. Some are good, some are bad. I'm populist, but when it comes to every issue, if we get rid of abortion, it comes to all the other issues. Donald Trump's a lot better. The economy before COVID was better with Trump. Actually, other nations, they might say, oh, America's was such a laughing stock. Well, when it comes to other nations, actually, they're starting to pay their fair share. America was safer under Donald Trump. We didn't have the war in Ukraine and Russia. We didn't have the war in Palestine and Israel. The world was a better place. And hopefully it will be again. Go out, campaign. If you can't do that, pray. But vote. And this election doesn't start in November. If you live in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we start voting the 20th of September at your voter register. So, well, God bless you guys. I'm going to give you the Bible verse of the day, and we will head out of here. All right, everyone. I thought this was kind of an appropriate Bible verse from Matthew 12, verse 25. And you can read the whole story, but I'm just going to read you this one verse from Jesus in the New King James Bible. But Jesus knew their faults and said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand. He's right. Abraham Lincoln famously quoted him saying that. And he's right. When it comes to abortion, a house divided against itself will not stand. And that's a point I want to bring up too. And listen, America is a diverse nation, very diverse. And our states have different people with different interests, and I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with babies meaning more in Tennessee than they are in New York. And this is a travesty. This is travesty against our land. God's going to judge us for how we treat unborn babies. Yeah, God will judge us for other things as well, but He's going to judge us about how we treat unborn babies. And so, listen to me, guys. This is important. We can't stand up for letting unborn babies die. So we got to put pressure on people, including Donald Trump. And my prayer is that one day we'll ban abortion with a few exceptions. We'll get rid of the abortion pill, and we'll save babies. Because we have to. We have to. And even if my party goes against that, I'll still be here. I'm very consistent on abortion. I don't care what letter's next to your name. You can hate my position, but I am consistent. I care about babies. I do. We got to give the pregnancy resource centers. My church gives the pregnancy resource centers. My church in Parisburg, Virginia, my old church, we started giving the pregnancy resource centers that help young mothers and crisis pregnancies. It's a good thing. Give out diapers. If you and listen to all the socialists out there and stuff. If every person in the United States of America, okay, let me change that. Just if every Christian gave to charity once a month out of their paycheck, even if they're poor, it doesn't got to be a lot. If you gave $20 a month to one charity, every born again Christian, the world would be a better place. But most people don't. You don't got to be a billionaire to make a difference. It starts at home. So $20 a month. I want to, everybody that works, if you can afford this, and if not, try to get in a position where you can afford this, because $20 a month isn't that much. Most people spend that, most people spend that at work, eating, getting food or something. So most people spend that a week at least. But I understand. But if you can, if not 20, 15. If not 15, 10. If not 10, 5. But I want to challenge my listeners, my born-again listeners. Pick a good charity. A good Christian charity. And this is outside of the money you give to your local church, okay? I'm not saying don't cannibalize that. Give $20 a month. Not 100. And if you can't do 20, go down, like I said. $20 a month to a good Christian organization or that helps people. It could be a homeless shelter, a pregnancy resource center. I personally like helping pregnancy resource centers. Homeless shelters are also good. There's a lot of things. It could be overseas. It could be in America. But that's what I want to leave with you with. I apologize. This has been a little bit longer of an episode, but we haven't had an episode in a while. So, well, God bless you guys, and have a great week. I'll see you back here soon.